Too many respectable journalists are using the phrase establishing a narrative or recognizing a narrative because control of a master narrative is not the same thing as journalism. I'd like to reintroduce academic journalism to the problem that we face in our culture regarding what has already been done. When you look at the crime that is being told as part of a master narrative from the hidden hand of Hollywood and the partners in the former axis of the Axis tripartite that waged World War II. You see the framework of what they've done on a number of different levels. I'll give you some examples. You can follow the cinema biography of the actors and actresses. An example of this would be Akiko Wakabayashi, who starred in the 1966 Mothra that used a Japanese look-alike of John Lennon, and then also appeared in Ian Fleming's You Only Live Twice with Sean Connery. Another cinema biography that overlaps with our actual historic biography is the way that Ingrid Bergman, who got her start in Axis, I guess it was IGA Studios in Nazi Germany, came to play Martha Gellhorn in For Whom the Bell Tolls, Eleanor Roosevelt's best friend. The double agency actually securing a lead role in American history. And Bergman was also in Casablanca, where the underground used to double cross as their secret signifier. So they're letting us pretend. There's also theoretical timelines and configurations. For example, the way that Cubism and fourth dimensional psychology emerged with Houdini and appeared to greatly influence the literature of Bly Sanders. And the branch of Cubism was known as Italian Futurism, which gave birth to the era of the great dictators and the Hollywood studio systems back when D.W. Griffith was meeting with Mussolini in a counterfeiting den called Fayoum. And you also have the way that parallel references occur, such as when Ayn Rand's We the Living iterates through a look-alike of Gail Burston, who wrote the script of the Texas School Book. It will be just like starting over. And the way that her likeness appears on a 1979 record of Robert Fripp, a spinoff from King Crimson, who was central to the intelligence of the media empire, who pulled a Houdini. Because for them, even the great dictators that they succeeded in producing and super producing were somewhat expendable to the concept of a hidden autocracy, a fourth dimensional godhead, wielded power, which is what they were building with the media apparatus that led this mission impossible. And one needs to go very close at hand to see the irrefutable evidence for this. Yoko Ono's attorney was contacting me back in the 80s, but she was also playing games with media at the University of Pittsburgh, leaving her graffiti that helped explain what she did. She came in advocating for the people who she claims killed John Lennon, because John Lennon was in on it. And they had planted the evidence on the people who they wanted blamed. And you're supposed to reach the point where you say, aha, about the Texas school book. We see why the power elite murdered JFK, released the AIDS attack. Aha! There's four themes, and you're supposed to wipe your tears away and, like Sabine women, marry your own murderers. So you have four themes: the escape of Adolf Hitler, which they called Lazarus, Enru, you had Casper, the Houdini of John Lennon, which they were also referred to through these symbols like Blythe Cinders for Blaze from the Cinders, Phoenix, Casper, Lazarus, the Walrus, killing JFK to execute him as consequence and punishment for Hiroshima. And what was known as Two Virgins Pussy Ball, which was clocked to the AIDS attack. And you find some of the most revealing clips, the most telltale clips, show the parallel between how Two Virgins Pussy Ball was presented as a race eugenic exchange in trafficking of symbols. Like Midori Goto was the star of the script in the murder of JFK. And Barack Obama was the designated master hero. So you had a black Japanese parallel represented in the telltale clip to the weird human trafficking pornography claims made by the University of Pittsburgh and the Heinz History Museum over me as an object who was tortured and subject to successive degradations of the X motive, as they put it, in an elaborate hanky-pank state of affairs that involved Seattle, Washington's legendary Black Panthers. So you had this sex exchange racket going on with the acquaintance and acceptance and promotion of a partnership of Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Yoko Ono, who was the power elite, agreeing to do this because they didn't want to adjust to sustainable development in order to accommodate and stabilize the populations. They made a fear campaign about human populations. The human populations aren't the ones exterminating the bees. Those are the pesticide companies. But they refused, the women refused to man up. The women were too busy laughing at me and enjoying the sight of me being terribly frightened and cruelly mistreated by rock stars with the neuroplasm that they had implanted. You can see it in my facial nerve. Look. And this traces back to Fayum's first epic venture in America, D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation. They poured peroxide in a Negro man's mouth and had him foaming. And rather than say that's wrong, you don't dehumanize people that way or make them out to be rabid animals. They thought, yes, you do. What you do, though, is you settle the score by doing it to a white. And this is how Bush, satisfied, cleared the air of racism by promoting Barack Obama into the era, making him a corporate installation of revenge to issue in the drone war era. And I had tried to get people to stop this, but Yoko Ono intervened for Nosferatu, who's favorite, Gail Burston, who appears on a 1979 cover of Robert Fripp in likeness, and wrote the script that they claim I was negligent and to blame for the murder of John Lennon. She wrote it. And yet they're working, promoting her in 1979, the year they claim he was, year before. They don't even bother trying to explain that because they want you to approve it. They go, oh, I get the idea. And when you look at the evidence, you see the iteration of the idea over and over and over again. It's in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. It's in Mannix. It's in Bonanza. It's in the first Kung Fu. We'll know you're alive, she says. And there are clips, telltale clips. I'm putting these together slowly but surely. You can see some of them already in my Rumble page.